Hello everyone, my name is Wolford and today we're going to be installing Arch Linux. I made this guide for a few friends and my computer science teacher, Mr. Jacka. This one's for you. I hope you love Arch Linux. Let's get started. I'm going to be using VirtualBox on my Windows machine to just pull up a VM of Arch Linux. This one's got the firepower necessary to have a virtual machine. My crappy laptop unfortunately does not. However, no problem. We still got Arch Linux, so everything's okay. Anyways, let's get started. Assuming you have downloaded the ISO, put it onto a flash drive, and plugged it into a laptop or a machine, or even used an optical disc. Now you're gonna, during the BIOS, you're going to meet a prompt, and you're going to click enter, and it will rush you into this environment that allows you to install Arch Linux. This is all before you you enter this environment. So be sure if you're downloading through a mirror, be sure to certify that the download hasn't been messed with. I used torrent to download this, so no problem. But yep, that's it. Alrighty, so we booted the live environment. We're done with that. Our default console key map is the console key map we'll use, so we do not need to. However, follow these commands and change the console key map to what you use, and that will solve. This tutorial is for UEFI, so we will make sure we are in UEFI. We are in UEFI. If nothing is shown, if there's an error, then you are not in UEFI, you're in Legacy BIOS. Let's make sure we're connected to the internet. We're going to be downloading a lot of things, so we need to be connected to the internet. I'm using an Ethernet cable. However, you can also use wireless using IWCTL. There's an article to help on IWCTL, and in another video I will show how to use IWCTL while in the install process. Alright, so first thing we're actually going to do, make sure everything's okay. Let's make sure, let's synchronize the clock first. Oh, did I mess that up? Time date CTL setting. Okay, so that's nice. Apologies, I just had to make sure everything was okay. And now we are going to partition the disks. Alright, so I'm gonna, the command lsblk lists out exactly what, how much space is on your computer. And so what you have here is loop 0, basically the environment that you're running Arch Linux in right now, the install environment. SRO, that's your optical drive, and SDA, that's your actual hard drive that you're going to put your boot partition, your swap partition, and your root partition on. And so that's what's up. So there are two ways you can partition your drive. You can either use CFDisk, which is the graphical implementation, which I'll use first just to make things easy. So first we're going to be creating our boot partition. The Arch Wiki recommends right here at least 260 megabytes, but I'm just going to put 320 megabytes because, you know, it's good to be safe. It's just a few megabytes. We're going to put EFI system. All right, so, and then next, we got our swap partition. Rule is if it's under 2 gigabytes of RAM, you do twice the amount of RAM. If it's between 2 and 8, equal amount. If it's above 8, half of the RAM. So I put 4 gigs of RAM on the system, so I'm gonna put 4 gigs as our swap already. And now we got our root partition, which is just going to be the rest of the computer. So wow, partitioning our disks was really easy. Look at that, all partitioned up. Unfortunately, I'm going to delete that and then use fdisk, because fdisk is more sophisticated, gives you a little more control, and generally it's more difficult. However, it's better. So first things first, let's make sure we delete everything. Let's use fdisk, SDA. We're gonna go into that block. Alrighty, we're using fdisk right now. So N to create, actually first, almost forgot this, we have to give it a proper label. We're gonna put G to give it a GPT label. That is that is the label that's used for EFI. That is necessary to have a UEFI system. Alrighty, let's move on. N, create a new partition. 1, that's the partition number, no need to customize. We're not changing the first sector. Plus 320 M, alright, plus 320 megabytes, not MIB, that's megabytes, right? Keep it to plus 320 M, alright? Difference between megabytes and megabytes. Megabytes based on twos, what is it? You know, kilobytes, kebibytes are 1024 bytes. Kilobytes are 1000, right? So make sure you're not messing that up. It's small, but it still makes the difference. All right, so let's sort that out. All right, T, change the type of it, right? Because it can't be Linux file system, it has to be EFI system. All right, let's just go here. 1 up at the top, that is the type of system that we need, EFI system for the boot partition. So 1, boom. All right, now we got to create the second partition. Partition number 2, no problem, no need to customize. Keep on moving, enter, and then now plus 2 of 4 G, because I have 4 gigabytes of RAM on this. Actually, no, I have 2. That's my bad. Plus 2 gigabytes, because I have plus 2 gigabytes of RAM. Boom. All right, change the type. Oh, 2. Let's go back. Let's look. Oh, right there, 19. Linux swap. So 19. Alrighty. Now we got to create our root partition. So partition number 3. First sector does not change. And no, we're going to use the rest of the allotted gigs we have left. Boom. No need to change. Keep it at Linux file system. You have the option of going for Linux x86 64 root. Keeping it at file system is what I've always done. However, if you have a differing opinion, you can just write it in the comments. Alright, so now we are going to write these changes. Alright, so let's lsblk. Exact same thing, however, we do have more control than cfdisk, but cfdisk is easier, so you can use cfdisk. Alright, now we actually have to make the file systems for each of the partitions. Alright, so for the boot partition, I'm going to use that. Not really sophisticated. Just use the proper file system for these. Then I'm going to use X4 for the root partition. So, boom. Oh, I made a typo. Alrighty. So, before, you might be confused. Why is the boot partition smaller than the root partition? If you're from Windows, that's just because Windows messed it up for some reason. For them, the system partition holds the bootloader, and the boot partition holds your actual files and your and everything else. So don't ask me, you know, Windows engineers, SMH, you know, kind of. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. All right, let's make SDA2 our swap. Let's turn it on. Alrighty, let's mount SDA3 to mount. Alright, now let's create a directory in mount named boot. That is where our bootloader will go. Alright, mount dev SDA1, mount boot. Alrighty, good. We just mounted our partitions. That's awesome. Alright, our mirrors. Now normally you have to do this custom. Fortunately, reflector is now included in the install process. So let's move here. Etsy patman b.mirrorlist. So we're going to use Nano, a text editor, to open Etsy list. All right, and you can see right here with reflector. So it automatically picked the mirror servers that are going to send us packets when we use Pacman to make sure that we install things. So that's pretty nice. You can customize it yourself, find new mirrors, customize reflector, but there's no real reason to unless you really want to. Now we're going to use Packstrap. I normally use Pacman to install packages onto Arch. It's actually one of the biggest reasons to use Arch. Or we're going to compound on that subject later. Alrighty, so let's go. We're going to first install the base package, Linux firmware. I have an AMD processor, so we're going to get Ucode, Network Manager, netctl, Vim, a text editor that's more complex. I'm going to be using Nano because it's more familiar to beginners. Install Nano, of course. Base devel. Oh wait, I already put base. My bad. Linux. Oh, whoops, my bad. Linux headers. EFI boot manager, which is required to have UEFI boot, mtools and DOS fstools, which all is required for the file system. The supplicant, this helps us later on. ManDB and ManPages, which are basically for the manual if you want to use it. Of course, the Arch Wiki is there, but you know, doesn't hurt. All right, so I'm gonna be right back. Oh, I made a typo. Good thing all right, I'm gonna be right back. We are done. Pardon me. Alright, so we've installed most of what we need to do. If we don't have it, then we will see. Anyways, let's generate our epstab file. In mount etsy fstab. Boom. Let's take a look at it just to make sure we don't mess anything up and just so I can tell you guys about some stuff. Alrighty. So right in this commented line, we've got a very nice thing that basically shows us what's going on. So the UUIDs for each partition. Then we got the directory that they are in. Of course, our root partition is not in a directory. Our boot partition is in boot on mount. Our swap is our swap. The type of file system, so we got X4, which we put on before. The options to it. All this is mostly automated, but you can change it if you are interested in customizing it. Of course, there's no need to at this point, but if you wish. And then the order in which they will be booted, so our root first, bootloader second, or in order in which they're checked. Apologies. All right, and our swap partition is just our swap. So let's get out of here. There are no errors, it looks like. All right, now we chroot. We change the root. We change what we are root into. Oh man, that came out poorly. We're chrooting into mount. All right, I'm just gonna put it at that. Apologies, I'm just nervous. All right, let's check the time zone. User share zone info America, Chicago, Etsy local time. All right, and then H clock systoc. All right, time, date, CTL status. All right, so as we can see, 2:10:26 UTC, 9:10 Central Time. However, my time zone, it's not I'm in Central Time, I'm in Chicago, so we gotta change that. So I gotta, all right, if I remember, this is probably ArchWiki just being out of date. Sometimes it's out of date, so let's just list time zones. All right, let's go to America. Let's see if find Chicago. Yeah, we got Chicago. So let's get out of there. All right, time, date, CTL, set time zone, America, Chicago. All right, time, date, CTL status. All right, so we got our time zone, 21:11:09. Keeps UTC, but it has to keep UTC. Let's yeah. All right, so we're great. Awesome. That's awesome. Now we gotta edit localgen to make sure our needed locales are uncommented. Of course, we're using the default NUS because we require the default. So let's go down here. We're on English, Hong Kong, Philippines, US, right here, US, UTF-8. All right, uncommented. Oh, Control X to get out, Y to save, boom, bang, and enter to not change the name. Apologies, I should have been narrating myself. All right, clear the screen, and now we generate the locale. All right, boom, bing, bang, bong. All right, we do not need to change the keyboard layout, so nothing to worry about. Now we work with the host name, so I'm going to call it practice. Very enlightened name. All right, so anyways, and now we go to nano/etsy/hosts. All right, and we basically follow what's on the ArchWiki. We are not going to have a permanent IP address. It's just going to be assigned using DHCP, so nothing to worry about. Be sure to, once you do this, tab. We have to keep it consistent, so be sure to tab. This is IPv6, tab twice, localhost, 127.0.1.1, tab, what was it, practice dot local domain tab practice. All right, sorted out, good job, we're done with this. All right, awesome. Now, initramps, we do not need to worry about that at this moment. We don't need to create a new one. Password, set the root password. So I'm gonna set the password. No problem, and you think you're done, but unfortunately, we still have to install a bootloader. So let's just sort that out. We're gonna be using systemd-boot as said in the title. Systemd-boot is simple. It's not complex. You don't need to worry about it too much. So let us do it. Let's go to systemd-boot. Right, so right here, not very hard. So bootctl path equals bootctl, the command, and we give it our path, and our boot directory is in boot, of course, and we're going to install it there. All right, clear, boom, no problem. All right, ls cd into boot. ls lists the directories or file in the directory. cding goes into that directory, so we're in boot right now. We're going to list what's in boot. We're going to cd to loader. We're going to list what's in loader. Then we go to loader conf. We're going to use nano. We're going to go to nano loader.conf. Boom. So these are the configurations for the bootloader. Now, do we want a timeout? Do we want to go instantly into the system, or do we want 3 seconds of space to maybe go into BIOS or do whatever? I'm gonna give it timeout of 3. You know, no one, just in case, you know, whatever. I'm gonna change this to Arch. I saw this. A friend showed it to me. It actually makes everything so much easier. Boom. Loader conf is set. All right, clear. We're going to cd now into entries. All right, great. Entries is empty, so we need to create a new file, arch.conf. Boom, very easy. Now we have to configure it according to this, right? So the title, oh, uncapitalized. No, this is case sensitive, so Linux. So we're going to be using the Linux kernel, which is installed. So Linux. Then for our U code, my machine has AMD. This was the U code we installed earlier. I'm going to be using AMD ucode.image. Boom, perfect. And we're also going to use initRd for our RAM, initramps linux.image, and then options root equals dev sta3, and because this is where our root partition is, it's dev sta3, and we are going to give it read and write. So just the space, read and write, awesome, solid, amazing, finished. All right, so that's a lot of the hard work done. Now we got to create our user, which is pretty simple. Just use user add, not m. I'm gonna name it Willowford. Willow practice, of course. Oh, apologies. I gotta make it lowercase. Willow practice. All right. Then we're going to use user mod ag wheel willow practice. All right, amazing. So what we've done is we've added the user willow practice to the group wheel. If you're interested in wondering more about the users, of course, there is a users guide. Let's just pull it up. Users Arch Linux. And let's just go down here to see what exactly the wheel group is. So basically, right here, wheel is basically a pre-written group for making a user an admin. All right, and assuming you're going to be the only user for this system, you want to add your main user group to wheel. You don't want to just use root all the time, or else you're really insecure, even if you have a password. So you want to add a user, give him the wheel group, and then, but you also want the user to be able to sudo and use root commands. So we're going to do that. First, we're going to give the user a password. Willow practice. My password. Alrighty. Okay, and now editor equals nano visudo. Alright, so now we're in the sudo file in etc. The reason we didn't just use nano and then use sudo is right here. This file must be out of the visudo command as rule. Failure to use visudo may result in syntax or file permission and errors that prevent sudo from running. Sudo is basically how you run things when how you do things as non-root that are privileged. So right here, these are privilege specifications. Root has full access, right? And now we also want wheel to have full access. You still got to use sudo, but you are allowed to use sudo. So boom. We do not want to do this. We do not want to uncomment. Same thing without a password. We still want a password there. You don't want someone getting on your laptop or your computer and just having root access through your main user. So boom. save, right? We are done with that permission. All right, so we're going to exit the chroot, clear, and then we are going to reboot. Let's hope I didn't mess anything up. All right, awesome, great, that's awesome, amazing. We did it, we did it, we did it. We installed Arch Linux, so great job guys. In the next video, we're going to go over installing the graphic user environment, uh, working with some, sorry about the noise in the background. We're going to install the dev environment, Zeesh, which is better than Bash, what else, a firewall, and other miscellaneous stuff just to finish up your installation. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.